So to give you a little background, I used to be 290 pounds. I was on 3 blood pressure medicines and I was in just terrible shape. I've always been kind of heavier. Ever since I was 9 or 10, I've been what I would call kind of chubby. I used to be really skinny before that. And everybody in my family kind of struggles with weight. So I wouldn't say my success is genetic. I think it's kind of the steps I took along the way, which is a big reason I want to share them with you so you can learn from my successes here and my failures here and maybe be able to help yourself out. So starting out, I was 290 pounds. I, of course, tried to lose along the way to get there. I'm not going to touch into all that, at least not in this video. But my journey really peaked when I was 290. And I went on a trip for work. And one of the things they required of me was to buy some jeans, and I didn't wear jeans very often. I would mainly just wear slacks or khakis to work. And this was kind of a trip out in the field to do some water sampling. And I went, and when I had to buy some pants, I had to buy 44s, which was just bigger than I'd ever imagined myself being. I mean, my dad, he's always been a big guy, and he used to wear pants that were smaller than that. And that helped it click. And then the day I remember I woke up for the trip and I went on the scale and I was 290 pounds. And I said that day, like, you know, I need to do something about this. And luckily my boss and I, we had a whole 8 hours in the car to kind of hash it out, and he helped me out. Kept me very inspired. So how I got from 290 and started that initial bit of weight loss was I just cut out soda. Full stop. I didn't do anything else. I just stopped drinking soda, started replacing it with water. Soda is one of the most hard to quit things I've probably ever had along this journey. It's got everything. It's got sugar, it's got caffeine. It really keeps you going. You get really dependent on it. So first thing I did was drop that soda, and it got me about 10 or 15 pounds lost. Then the next step, from about 280 to roughly 270, I ended up drinking only water. So I would cut out all non-water drinks except for Monster Zero Ultras. I absolutely loved those things. So after I cut out everything that wasn't water, I ended up doing intermittent fasting. So I would eat from 12 to 8, and I wouldn't really eat outside of my window. And that was when I really saw the most significant drop in weight. That's when it really started clicking and moving for me. It did take a bit, but I ended up losing probably from about 270 down to 245, 240, give or take, just off of intermittent fasting. I didn't really change what I ate. I just ended up eating less because of the window I was restricting myself to. Now, in that time, that's when the start of a later surprising section will come to fruition, and we'll get more into that later. But this is also when the conflicts with family at family gatherings and stuff kind of started. I had my little 12 to 8 window, and I started getting really strict about eating outside of it. Okay, from 245 to about 220, although I yo-yoed a bit there, it was keto. That was the next big step. I was on keto for a year and a half, and when I was on keto, it was fairly strict. I would do, for sure, under 20 net carbs. I even like to stay, especially towards the end, under 10 net carbs a day. So for those of you that don't know, in keto, net carbs is just total carbs minus sugar alcohols minus fiber. So you're left with whatever sugars and other kind of carbs that are in whatever you eat. And here I had many more conflicts at family gatherings, and then they started to kind of taper off once people kind of understood what I was about. And even some people were excited to try to make something, or at least keep me included. They would, you know, can you eat this? Can you eat that? But this is when I would start, if I'd go to a family gathering and maybe we left our house at 10, got there at noon, they didn't have anything for me to eat, and I wouldn't get home. I'd just go a day without eating. And that kind of spiraled into some stuff we'll talk about later. Now, I'd actually gotten down to 190 and I started incorporating some walks every day. This was about when COVID hit, and I would go out and walk for about 15 minutes. I'd had regular walks at my job before that anyway. It was a way that, you know, sometimes even the boss would come out and take a quick walk with you, talk about work. It was a very nice atmosphere. But I got to 190 at the bottom of keto. And now earlier I might have mentioned, hey, I was 220 at the end of keto. What happened? Well, I kind of yo-yoed back up. I'd started to incorporate in my diet a lot of what I just call generally bad food. I mean, there's no real bad food, but in the quantities I was eating, there were, because I wouldn't watch what I eat. I would just make sure if it had 0 carbs, I was free to eat as much as I want. And that pushed me all the way back up from 190 to about 220. It was at this time in February of 2023, I had kind of hit my most recent peak, and I was seeing a cardiologist about some chest pain, and he recommended I move off of that and go to DASH. Okay, so the DASH diet, that is a dietary approach to stopping hypertension. It's mainly low sodium, low saturated fats, some fruits and veggies, some grains here. But the big thing is like low to like as little saturated fat as you can get, essentially. Now, I ended up landing on a certain meal, chicken and rice. And it was just shredded chicken breast and rice, and I put some kind of sauce with it. And that would kickstart something and really push me down from 220 and onward. And it's here that I also picked up a nice little tip. I'm actually gonna make a whole video about this one tip. If I ever wrote a book on weight loss, this will probably be one of the funnier bits of it. So stay tuned for that. So what ended up happening is I would get very meticulous about it. I was kind of stuck around the 175 mark. Mind you, I'd gotten from 220 to about 180, 175. And I started incorporating exercise a little bit. I was mainly focused on my diet. And I was speaking with my therapist at the time, and she told me that her son, who has autism as well, has a very good time being meticulous about his food and measuring it. So then what I ended up doing was eating only things that I measured. And this is what really kicked it off for me. I mean, I dropped from about 180 to 145. I dropped from about 180 to 145, and the big thing really, that's just anorexia. I became anorexic. I didn't know it. I had fallen into it, if you will. I mean, it wasn't an accident, so to speak. It was my own doing. But I'd kind of weaponized my autism into getting me anorexia, and it kind of spiraled out of control from there. And so now I've probably gained 5 pounds since the bottom of it. I am on my way to recovery from anorexia. I started it about 5 months ago. Really started recovering from it. It's rough, but I've gotten so much more energy. I'm so much better off. Now, I'm no role model, because if you asked me, I would do it all again exactly the same way. I think living while that obese was much harder than being anorexic, and recovering from that was much harder than recovering from anorexia. But it's a balance. I'm a very 100 or nothing person. You'll get that through a lot of my talks and my videos. And ultimately, it's just what worked for me. I wouldn't recommend it to everybody. If I had the capability, I probably would have landed on the perfect solution from the get-go. There's some other stuff. I may go into future videos about if you're interested on any of these one sections. I can talk at length for just about any of them to tell you more specifics. So all in all, thanks for watching. I hope you found something kind of interesting. I hope you found something that maybe you can latch onto or something you relate with. I'm not a huge fitness YouTuber or anything of the sort. It was a very real story, and I hope that transparency and realness that I provided might be of use to you. Anyway, I'd love to dig into those with you guys at a later time in some new videos. And speaking of, if you want to watch more of my stuff, you can check out my latest video right here. And thanks for watching, and hope to see you next time.